class. Today we're going to make this little book card which I've decorated with owls, but of course you can decorate it however you like using whichever papers you want. I'm basically going to give you the idea and then you can transform that into a masterpiece. So we'll start off with the measurements. You need a piece of A4 card. This is just normal standard good quality A4 card. Doesn't have to be white, you might decide to use a different colour for what you want to do. And we are going to cut this to 9.5 by 21. I'm hoping that that is the right way around on this video. It's 9.5 by 21. Let's hope that's come out the right way. So put this in the guillotine, it goes in landscape way, and cut this off at 9.5. It's already 21 long, you don't need to measure that. So as long as you go in landscape, and you're going to cut 3 of these off. So 9.5, make sure that it's completely straight, otherwise it will spoil your card. 9.5, that's 2 of them. And then here's your third one. And you're going to be left with a piece of card this big. If you're not left with a piece of card this big, guess what? You've gone wrong somewhere. So just go back again. But we're left with 3 pieces of card. And they're all 9.5 deep and 21 long. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to trim these down to 21, 16.5, 12.5 and 8.5. This is to create the book effect that we saw earlier on. So we get all the different sizes there. Now 21, the simplest one of all, because this already is 21, so you started with that. That's great. Next size is 16.5. Now we know this is 21. If you don't have a big guillotine, if you just have a small one like I've got here, very easy. All you have to do is take 16.5 away from 21, which leaves 4.5, I hope. So I'm going to cut 4.5 off this. Before I do, I'm just going to do the maths in my head again. 16.5, 17 plus 4 is 21. That's it. So there is our 16.5 centimetre piece of card. Our next one is 12.5. So already 21, and if we take 12.5 off 21, if your guillotine doesn't go up to 12.5, you take 12.5 off 21, you are left with 8.5. So I'm going to cut 8.5 off this, which is very handy because that actually leaves 12.5, and the last piece of card we need is 8.5. So here are these measurements again. You've already picked up a piece of A4 card and you've stripped it down, so you've got 4 strips that are all 21 centimetres long, 3 strips, 21 centimetres long by 9.5 wide. Then each of those is going to get cut. The first one is left at 21, the next one is cut to 16.5, the next one is cut to 12.5, and the last one is 8.5, and all that you should have left over is that. I'm sure you can do something useful with that. So those are those measurements. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to score 1.5 centimetres from each end. So score 1.5 centimetres from each end. I'm using a hoogie board here, but you can use whatever method you like. If you have another scorer, that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to leave that one till last. So I'll start with the biggest one. There's your 21 centimetre long one. Place this in here and 3 little bits along and score down. So all 4 of those are scored, 1, 2, 3, at 1.5 centimetres. So that's that. Well, make sure when you're using a scoreboard or a hoogie board, make sure it's perfectly well lined up. If you've got any card that's not quite perfectly cut, turn it round so that the corners that fit in so you can get your scoring straight are perfect. Don't worry about the other part of it. Now this could be a tricky one because this is 8.5 as we remember, and of course it's 9.5. So make sure you don't score this the wrong way. Very, very easy to do. To make sure you're scoring it the right way, pick up one of the bigger pieces and check it out like that. There we go. That is that way. So it's the 9.5 stays as the length, and we're just going to come down like that. So score that one at 1.5. Now You don't have to do this next step. It's one where if you want to get a really professional looking card, it's a good idea to do it. And this is to measure so that you're putting your holes in the card. These are the holes here at the back and that you see at the front. So you put your holes exactly where the centre is. Now to do this, what you need to do is you need to measure to the centre of your 9.5. Hey, I haven't got a ruler. That's really clever. But what I have got is got one I've prepared earlier, which is always handy to have. So here we are. This is the smallest card, and I'll just score this up now so that that's done as well. So 9.5 going down and scored on there. I had a ruler. I'll blame the dog. Chloe, have you got the ruler? So this is your piece, and then what I need you to do is you need to measure into the centre and mark a little mark like that. So that's what I've done there. Just measure it to the centre. Then take your ruler and measure 1 centimetre either side. If you want a bigger gap for your ribbon, I've done quite a small one there. If you want a bigger one, maybe measure 1.5 centimetres either side, or even 2 centimetres either side. It's up to you completely, but the important thing is to get it level and even. So we do that, and then I've marked those up, and I've done some longer lines like that so that I can actually see where they go to. And there is the score line. Now this is the smallest piece, which I'm going to score up there like that. Right, so we've got that marked up now on the smallest piece. Next thing we're going to do, and you can do these 2 steps either way round if you want to. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the papers. Now the papers, choose, very important which papers you choose. You want something that coordinates well. You can use the same paper if you want to. I've used 2 papers from the same paper pack here, which is one of the Papermania Owl paper packs. But you could use 4 different ones, you could use 1 the same, it's up to you. But I always think the best thing to do when you're choosing papers is pick ones you like. That's the really important thing. If you like them, they're good. So the papers, the measurements on these are slightly different to how you might expect. And they are 9 by 19, 9 by 14.25, 9 by 10.5, and 9 by 8. And what I've done here is I have made it, the papers, so that as they stick onto 3 of the cards, you've left where your score line is completely without paper, because it doesn't show. You can see there that the second and the third ones don't show, and it is quite difficult when you're trying to score things to actually score over paper. So the less you have to score over paper, the better. So this particular one, the 3 of them, the papers will fit, and when you stick them on, what I want you to do is stick them right to one end. So we've got this beautiful little white border around the edge here, but then we've got the 1.5, 2 centimetre gap there. That is the one that gets folded. So don't stick the paper, the sizes I've already given you for the paper there. Don't then get that paper and stick it in the middle. Stick it so that it works right to the end. So you've just left yourself a little white border. That's on the 3 larger pieces. On the smaller piece is different. The smaller piece, you stick it right to the end, because what you can't see won't bother you, but you can see this first one. So by doing that, we have got that paper right to the end of the very first one. Then the next thing we're going to do, that's the papers. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to punch the holes. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a crocodile, this will punch through most things. I think solid concrete probably is the limit. Punch through with the crocodile to the 2 holes you've got there. If you don't have a crocodile, I'll give you another option afterwards. So I'm going to look here where I've put the measurements. Some people can't be bothered, they just want to get things done, they don't want to measure, just want to do it. That's absolutely fine. I do like to have things neatly done. So where my first line is, I'm going to use crocodile and punch through, and then push that out. Birmingham City pencil, everybody, look, Birmingham City pencil. And then on the second one, line that up, and push that way out as well. Now, if you're doing this with a crocodile, you can have all 4 of these together at the same time. And you can do that. Obviously, you've got your paper stuck down on all of them. I've only got the paper stuck down on the one. So what I would do to do it with a crocodile, which I'm afraid I did without doing it, is clip them together, keep them all nice and straight, and then use the crocodile and clip through all 4 at once. If you don't have a crocodile, just have a normal punch, you may be able to do 2 if you've got time, but if not, all you need to do is line them up perfectly like this, one on top of each other, and then just draw 2 little circles like that, with that level, and then punch the circles out of there like that, and you can do that with all the remaining papers. The ribbon, you need about 40 to 45 centimetres. You can use as many ribbons as you want. I've used some, because I do love twine. I've used some twine and some white organza on there, and the way to tie the ribbon, picked up the wrong piece of ribbon. I cut one 45 centimetres long and I brought one 26 centimetres long. I thought it looked small. Anyway, I can tell you in principle. From the back of the booklet, you just thread it through from the one side. Take it through like that. And then take it through like that. It's worth taking a little bit of time choosing your ribbon as well, because it does make a lot of difference. That's quite a nice combo actually, the purple and the brown, even though the ribbon is not long enough. And then you can just knot it off and tie it into a bow, hopefully a little bit larger than this. As I say, about 45 centimetres. If you want a tiny bow like that, do 26 centimetres. I did the wrong size. So there we go, that's all then stuck together. And I've got some owl paper. So I thought, oh, I'll try and find some owls. And all I did was I just Googled cartoon owls, and this was the very first thing I saw. Messed about a bit with the printer to get it to the size I wanted. Bearing in mind these are like 9 centimetres deep. You don't want to go much bigger than that. And then I just punched out the owl, and then I die cut the circle. But you can use whatever methods you want. If you don't have a die cutter to hand, you can just cut squares or do whatever you want. And then mount the picture, leaving a nice border around there again. I'm not sure how well you can see that. Leaving a nice picture around there. And then you just need to line them up. And it is important to try and get them lined up straight. So what I'm going to do here is hold that straight. Make sure the booklet is straight. Make sure the owl's straight. And then just pop that down. There we go. So there we go, our owl book. This could be used for so many different things. You can use it, photographs in it, you can do embellishments, you could do words as well. I've done them at Christmas where I've written the word snow. You can do all sorts of things. And then they do stand up. Because of the fold we put in there, they will stand up like so. There we go. So